It's been such a long time since I've been on the air. To give you an idea of how long it's been, the last guest that I had was Orly Tates. Do you remember who she was? She was the person that was the main driver, I guess, behind the Obama birther movement. And it's funny because I saw her as a walking contradiction in so many ways, and she really got me down the path of being interested in mental illness. I don't mean this like offensively to her, but so she was an immigrant and she came to the United States. She became a dentist and a lawyer, like legitimately. But man, she was so obsessed with this Obama was born in Kenya notion that I felt like I couldn't even have a rational conversation with her because every time I tried to go over something, she would instantly go into like machine gun fire verbally. And it was the only topic where I felt she would go crazy on. Everything else, to me, she appeared rational. Like, before we started taping, I told her, I was like, listen, I see that you're a lawyer, so I gotta make sure you sign everything so I don't get sued. She goes, I've never sued anyone for having me on the air, and I promise you I never will. And, she never filed suit against me. But it was so odd to me that an immigrant could be that aggressively against Obama on the basis of him being an immigrant. Like, I remember when this birther thing first came out, I didn't give a damn what country Obama was born in. All I cared about was how smart he was, his policies, and how many people are voting for him. I mean, what did his detractors think was going to happen? Did they think he was going to come to power, then surrender his power to Kenya? Or be like, no, this is now the United States of Kenya? This idea that you have to be born here in order to be the president here is ridiculous to begin with. America is supposed to be a nation of immigrants. I can still remember my 7th grade teacher, Mr. Greenberg, telling me that we are a nation of immigrants. America is known as the great melting pot, and that's what makes America so great. The more nationalistic we allow America to become, the more detrimental it's going to be for America, because the bulk of our PhD students come here from other countries. But now all of a sudden they're not feeling welcomed in America. You know where they are feeling welcomed at? They're feeling welcomed in China. Michio Kaku said, America's biggest weapon, our biggest, most important secret weapon is not a bomb. It's the H-1B. The H-1B is the genius visa. But Trump and his supporters want to get rid of the H-1B altogether. Anyhow, I don't want to start going off on a tangent already, because this is just supposed to be the introduction show. My goal in uploading this broadcast is to tell everyone about the upcoming show, who the players are, what our goals are, and how we came to know one another. My goal in doing this program is to create a safe haven for people that appreciate critical thinking, beliefs based on evidence, and the feelings of other people who think differently. I want to create a mafia family, but a good mafia family. I use the term mafia because the mafia uses pressure to cause change. I want to be able to do the same thing, only not with violence, but rather with positive reinforcement. I want to use this program to help people find love, housing, employment. And not just that, but mentoring and coping skills. As a matter of fact, I am going to have, in a few minutes, a motivational speaker, a real-life motivational speaker on the program. His name is Alan Wilson, and let me tell you how I found out about Alan. So, my co-host, Shianne, she has one of the most interesting life stories you're going to hear, but she's also a former attorney and a former judge. And I had contacted her for legal help, and truthfully, I couldn't afford her rates. So I told her, I said, listen, I've been out of commission for a good amount of time being a tutor, but I happen to have a lot of talents. I said, I'm good at teaching, I'm good at marketing, I'm good at broadcasting, and I can write ads. Is there something there that I can offer you that would give you inspiration to cut me a break? And to be honest, I was expecting her to brush me off, and that would have been the end of it. But she writes me back, she goes, well, I do have a webinar that I'm trying to market because I think it will be really beneficial for people. And as we're talking back and forth, she's revealing to me her life story, and it's really fascinating. I don't want to get too much into it until I have her on, but she revealed to me that she wanted to be a life coach. And when you hear her story, and you hear about everything she's overcome, and everything she's been through, I can almost guarantee you that you yourself will be the first to say that this woman should be a life coach. I mean, just to go through what she's gone through and to come out sane is an impressive accomplishment. But to come out sane, to come out academically accomplished, and with a positive, welcoming, down-to-earth attitude where she's not snobby and she's not bitter, and she's beautiful. She's in her 50s. She looks like she's 30. And she's very open and honest. She doesn't hold anything back. When she was telling me about the webinar, the goal of this webinar is to show you how to easily and realistically make money over the internet. So she drives traffic to the webinar. People watch the seminar video, and as they're watching the video, they learn that this is legit and this is how the system works. So you get to understand, question, and test everything before you make any type of investment or commitment. You're still anonymous at this point, so you can back out anytime. So I asked her, I said, okay, let's just say someone listens to this webinar and decides that, yes, this is a business that I want to take part in. I want to do this. How much do they have to invest to start up? Without missing a beat, she says $12,000. There was no being around the bush. There was no this or that. Bam, $12,000. She didn't even stutter. So I tell her, anyone that has $12,000 to drop is already rich. Who would want to do this? And just as quickly and as confidently as she said $12,000, she said well-educated people who have high-paying jobs who can't enjoy life because they have no life-work balance. So what it's meant to do is it's meant to give people who already earn a high income another method of continuing to earn a high income, but this time on autopilot, so that they're free to pursue whatever it is that they really want to do in life. They're not stuck having to do something just because it pays well. There'll be a link under this video where you can hear the webinar and read about it for yourself. But anyhow, so she's telling me about the webinar, and she also tells me that she has a YouTube channel using the handle The Box Wined Lady. You know, the wine in the box? So I told her, I said, you should change your name to the Queen of Box Wine. That way it sounds like Queen of Botswana and whatever. So I go on her YouTube channel and I start watching her videos, and that's when I realized how incredible her story really is. Like, she had a son who survived leukemia, just a bunch of stuff. But on one of her videos, she had a motivational speaker, which is the guy that I'm bringing on the show in a few minutes. His name was Alan Wilson. And I gotta tell you how impressed I was with this guy. This guy was every woman's fantasy who's over 30 come to life. He was good looking, he was well spoken, he had a positive attitude, he was a genuinely good guy, and I could tell that him and Shianne were really good friends. So I contacted him behind Cheyenne's back. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm doing this debut show. Shianne and I are going to be doing a podcast together. I'd like to surprise her by bringing you on secretly and just having you talk about the type of person she is and letting everyone know more about what you do and how you two met. And he was game. And I'm going to call him up right now. Okay, give me a second to set this up for the audience. Right now on our phone line is Alan Wilson. He's the motivational speaker that was featured on Cheyenne's video. So he was kind enough to come on and tell us a little bit about what he does and talk to us a little bit about Shianne. So without further ado, Mr. Wilson, how's it going?
Awesome. How you doing today?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
Fabulous. This has been an amazing day. I've been doing quite a bit of extensive work inside and outside Portland. As you know, it rains quite a bit, at least in the last 6 months it has. And I finally got an opportunity to get outside and get some work done. But with that being said, I also get an opportunity to talk to people like yourself issues or things that create problematic situations in their life or in their mind. My background and experience is extensive from the rate of my own personal things that I go through or have gone through, and through that, by me working through my own obstacles, it's helped me realign myself in a position where I can see where I can navigate not just myself, but help others through the way that I've navigated through my own personal issues that I've had in the past. And because I'm good at it, people have come to me for answers, have questions for me, and they would like to ask how can they get through, or how do they get to, or whatever might happen. They come. And so over time, I've just built up just a natural knack just to be in a position to be an advocate in that realm of being a public speaker and also a counselor for individuals who need assistance in those areas in which I've addressed.
What got you started down this path? Like, what built this?
Well, what happened was, give you an example. When you're in high school, everyone at the end, when they get close to senior year, they get this question, hey, what are you going to do when you get out of high school? What are your plans? And so we get an assessment test, or we'll get in a position where we can try to figure out by taking different classes, or we'll be in a position where once we select a college, we got to really get down to the nitty-gritty. What am I going to do with my time? What am I going to do with my life? And so you got to really look at, okay, what am I good at? What am I best at? What do I really like? What's good for me? What do I feel was good for me? Sometimes we don't know what's good for ourselves. But deep down inside, I've always had a personal knack to feel like, you know what, if I could do anything on the planet, what would I like to do with my time? My thing, I was always wanting to save somebody in the crisis mode. I was always wanting to be that kind of person that if I had any energy, any inkling in my body, or anything that I could do, if someone is dire need, dire straits, whatever power, whatever energy that I have, I want to be that savior type person. So I knew for a fact I would want to do whatever field of interest that would allow me to be that person. With that, I thought that I would go into broadcasting. So I said, that would be interesting. I could just talk to people that way, to go into broadcasting. And besides that, when you had an English class, you would read aloud, and people say, hey, you know what, your voice sounds, and you sound like, and it wasn't something that I would intentionally do. It was something that just came natural. And at the time, those kind of things kind of reinforced my idea of going into public speaking or, motivational speaking, because of not just what people say, but what I felt by what I said, what impacted other people when I talked to them. And so this became my aid and allowed me to think, maybe one day I could public speak, or maybe one day I could talk to somebody, or maybe I could be a minister or whatever, or, counsel somebody or whatever. And so it just stuck with me. And then over time, we all have our life experiences, and we just, always come back to the same thing. If you even go away, some people are good at art, some people are good at math, some people are good at working on computers. And it just seems like it just always seemed to come back. Like even when I got to college, I went to Oregon State. It comes at periods of time when people's lives were, after class, people would come to me as a counselor or something. They would have issues at home, or they'd come to me for consulting. Or, I'd be walking down the street, people would just, blindly just come up to me and say, there's something about you that struck the chord with me. I just thought that maybe I could talk to you. And then, is it a light that people see in you? Is it the way you walk? Is it the way you carry yourself? Is it just, just you as an essence of a person? And I think that's true. I think that, the light that we're supposed to have in the inside out, that lets it shine on the outside in, I think that makes a big difference in how we walk and do what we do in our life. And so that was, I think, over time, after high school, right into the broadcasting thing, and then also going into theater, I think that part of that, contributed to me wanting to connect and outreach from an art standpoint of using my person to be an outreach for people. And then two, by people wanting to automatically connect to me and, talk to me, and it seems like, well, after I'm done talking, they still want to keep talking. I'm like, am I really saying something that really matters? Am I really doing something that really makes a difference here? And the answer was yes, because after it was all said and done, people would tell me how they would feel after talking to me.
That was what was really interesting. And if you go to Shianne's YouTube channel and you watch her videos, she shares a lot of the pain and obstacles that she has endured in her life thus far. It appeared to me that you were a big part of her coping mechanism? Did she confide a lot of what was going on with her into you? Like, what led up to you being on camera with her and her endorsing you and you endorsing her? How did all that happen?
Well, it was the holiday season, as we know. Thanksgiving is already in the past, November, and here we are, fast forward. And she had experienced some traumatic incidences that occurred. One of which she lost a very dear friend of hers, and then two, she experienced some things on her job and so on and so forth, some other things that occurred that, at the time, during the holidays, and then the holiday season is coming up. And the holiday season, don't get me wrong, it's a great, Thanksgiving is a great time, you get together with family. But then when you also experience some of these other things, that sometimes you just get overwhelmed, and, you wish you could talk to somebody, and then sometimes you can talk to people, and sometimes you can talk to people and it just seems like you're just talking to a wall, and sometimes that might be the best antidote, for what you're talking about or what you're going through. But I think in the essence, when she was able to talk to me and reach out to me after I reached out to her saying, hey, how you doing? What you going to do for Thanksgiving and what you going to be doing for the holiday? She felt like, wow, here's an opportunity for me to share with, Alan, what's been happening in my life. And, I'm a listener. And so because I listened and because of the feedback I was able to give her at the time of what she was going through, I was able to not just be a listener, but, I was able to interject some my own personal experiences that connected with what she was going through. And sometimes, like when somebody else is going through something and you're able to connect by what they have already been through, it helps you to see that, for one, you're not the only one on the planet going through what you think you're going through. And then two, how you address and talk to an individual after they give you a piece of their mind or what they've gone through in the way that you relate to them. They're able to see firsthand, wow, man, I had no idea I was going to be so refreshed. I had no clue that I was going to be so motivated in a different way to carry on and possibly, just take a re-look or revisit as to what's happening in my life right now, even though I'm affected. Maybe how I can look at something, maybe turn it around. So because of my knack to do this, this is the stepping stone into how I'm able to reach into someone and to give of myself so that way, so that I can help them navigate through the personal issues that they might be addressing. Because for one, two, either A, I may have already experienced it, and two, B, I'm going to listen to it, and C, I'm going to do all I can to see what I can do when I have the opportunity to create a positive space for a person to receive what I have of information that could help them along their journey.
Speaking of positive, one of the things that I guess turned me on to you and to Shianne the most was the fact that you two make such an effort to be positive and to be thankful and to look at the glass as half full. And this was a very new phenomena for me, to see educated people wanting to be positive, because from what I've seen and what I've personally experienced, the more educated a person is, the more down that they are. They seem to, the second law of thermodynamics, everything goes from order to disorder, and they seem to have a very gloom and doom attitude. Why are you different? And do you experience that too, or am I just in a weird parallel universe?
Well, how did it, when a person is in the scenario where they've learned and they've studied and they've gathered information from a positive standpoint of getting educated, I believe what happens over time is that going to this great extreme to get educated and have knowledge and to get oneness with whatever field of interest you're trying to study, that's a super thing. That's a great thing. That's a phenomenon in a sense. To study something that you've truly been interested in, to focus on something that you truly wanted to be a part of, to give of yourself in such a way to where you're going to go to the great extreme, the great extent to achieve an award or to get a degree or to manifest something in which you thought that, wow, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a dentist, I want to be a interviewer, I want to be a janitor, I want to be a street sweeper, I want to be a minister, I want to be a some people might even want to be a menace to society because they have no other field themselves other than to do something that they think is constructive, but that just might be their only way of of showing what they can do. And in some instances, it might not be the best choice, but by all means, this is what they understand, and so they're acting it out. You can even convert something that's negative into a positive. And so and sometimes people have to go through things just to get through things. And sometimes by maybe like you're asking this question, why is it that people with great intellect seem to get stuck? Well, they just need to get outside their head. And when they get outside their head, they can just revisit where they were when they first started and then start from that platform. Sometimes when you get stuck in your own head and you're caught up in all the information, you have to break down where you're at so you can get back to where you need to be, which is start from a foundation, the basis, and restart, reboot where you began, humble beginnings. Sometimes you can do that. In most instances, you can get back to that space by just being silent. They call that meditation.
How do you deal with people who come to you with a problem that's unsolvable? Like, I have cancer, I'm going to die, my wife and kids are going to be struggling, they don't have anything. What do you say to people with, like, horrible news without a quick fix?
Okay. Well, what I do when I hear information like that, okay, they're like, well, how is a person like myself, like, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist from a perspective where I have a degree in any of these types of fields of interest where you would talk to somebody like a psychiatrist or something if you have traumatic issues. However, when you have dealt with such issues yourself, for instance, my grandmother has had cancer. I've had other people in my family who have had cancer. I've dealt with suicide. I know people personally in my family who, went through this experience and transitioned through that, that I've dealt with it because it's there up close and in your family, even if you deny it, you still respond. Whether you decide to just turn a blind eye to it, that's how you respond. But, and there's drugs and alcohol. We all have somewhere, we can all turn a blind eye to these things and say, I don't see it. But for me, because I've been able to navigate, address, and deal with it up close and personal on different things that I've witnessed and experienced, not from my own personal use, but from how I respond to a situation with somebody with cancer. My grandmother died with cancer. And so, how I responded to this, there's nothing you can absolutely do when there's something happens to somebody else. What you do, though, if you're an avid listener and you know how to be silent, to just do that alone, that right there is part of the solution to a situation, because you can't help the person with cancer if they have cancer directly, but you can be encouraged. And so you look at what you can do. You can be empowering. Sometimes it could just be holding someone's hand. Sometimes it could just be, something they might ask for a prayer. If they don't ask for one, maybe they may not want one, but you can at least do that in your own way. Maybe you can encourage an individual, by giving them some materials to read about cancer and the different ways in which you can, there's alternative ways in which maybe you go to the doctor, they tell you got terminal cancer and there's nothing, of course, you're going to be able to do. He's going to give you a death sentence for, say, you've got 6 months to live. So you got 6 months to live or whatever. So you say, okay, there are alternatives. Maybe that's one aspect of one outlook of it. You could choose that, or you can see if there's alternatives, like naturopathic ways to, look at something. Because if the end all is that you've been given a death sentence to look at your life in one way, and you got 6 months to live. As an individual, how would you handle that independently? It's like, okay, so the person's telling me, oh, you have 6 months to live. What do I do? What can I do? Well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Do you allow the individual to tell you your death sentence? Or do you look at an alternative as to where I can muster up whatever energies or light I have within myself to shine in a way that can either A, help correct the situation, and B, how am I going to live the rest of the 6 months that I have to live? That's what it is. Will you find out? Well, if you die, you're not going to know that it happened. So, will you know? If you die, you're not going to know that you died because you already have perished. Who's to know that we don't know that? But you'll find out one way or the other. But why not, if we can, why not select, the alternative, which is to change your mind state to, if you want to go through chemotherapy, let that be your personal decision. If you can't make the personal decision yourself because, you're not strong enough to do that, someone has to make that decision for you, then that's something that people should look at as far as the long term in their life. You say, well, if I knew what I was going to set up long term, but I would already established who I would tell or what I would do if I was in that situation. Well, maybe this is a great time to kind of reflect and look on things like that. You know, who is in your life, and how do you think you got in that position in the first place? Some people may have gotten in that state because of the people that they surrounded themselves, so created a neurosis of the mind, which may have caused brain cancer. Some people may have used their life in manners in which they've continually or habitually used alcohol and drugs, which has created cancer. Something that, well, I've never done drugs, I've never done alcohol, I've never, been around people that was negative. So therefore, how is it that I was able to get what I got? What are you going to say about that? Well, the person that you're talking to is not their fault. So by one person blaming someone else and asking them for the answer, that's not really the answer. The answer is just to go within, is to utilize every muscle of strength and every energy of iota that you can possibly think of to try to think about, well, how can I change this in myself? And I truly believe that we can change ourselves in that way. But that's my belief. And I can only encourage, I can only inspire, and I can only pray for those who come into this situation.
I want to ask you one other thing before I let you go. I noticed on the video you're in really good shape. And I'm curious if you wanted to comment on any observable link that you've noticed between physical health and mental health. Are you more likely to have better mental health if you're in good physical condition?
Absolutely. I believe that. I'll give you an example. Some people think that you have to run a mile in order to be in great shape. We'll say you have no legs. Then what are you going to do? You can't run. But you can read something or you can think of something in your mind that will put you in that space. And I really think that your mind, you have the thoughts in your mind that create the physical agility that it would take for you to enable your body to do what your mind wants it to do. I believe that. You say, okay, well, how is that? Well, let's take a bird, for example. A bird needs to have muscles to get off the ground, to propel itself into the air. But, if it decides that, wow, how am I going to get from this nest to the air? It doesn't build muscles to do push-ups, sit-ups. It doesn't run a mile. It just makes its mind up and begins to fly.
I want to ask you, before I give you an opportunity to tell the audience where they can find you and how to contact you, what would you like the audience to know most about Shianne? Because they're about to embark, hopefully everyone's subscribing to this now, and by next week they'll hear the first broadcast with me and her. What would you like the audience to know, or at least what are your views of her after knowing her for so long?
Where do I start? Shianne is by far one of the truest, most loveliest, most spiritual, most connected, most genuine, most loving, most sincere, impactful individual that I can think of, being a friend, being a person of great substance, being genuine, being kind. Shianne is the pioneer. Shianne is global. She is the type of individual who I would consider a friend, person who has a big heart. She personally interviewed me because of the connection that I had in her life with being a friend, but then two, recognizing that, not just from the specific interest that I have and how to contribute to another person's life, how can I help you? I see you're involved with, coaching. I have a child, you think you can go coach my child in any way? Because I can, because I do a program called Coaches Corner where I work with people one-on-one. But this being a vessel and leading by example. I mean, what better person would you like to work with than a person that's living and leading by example? A person that leads by example, lives by example, a person who will just not just say the talk, but talk the talk and walk the talk. That makes all the difference in the world. If you're willing to do it, then hey, that's a testimony in itself. I mean, that you could use that with anything.
I totally agree. Listen, I want to thank you for coming on. Obviously, the audience is going to be in for a great adventure, and I'm sure they enjoyed this interview. How can the audience get more of you? Do you have a website? How can they contact you? What type of stuff are you available for? Uh, Tell them everything you'd like them to know.
Okay. If you want to get in contact with me, you can reach me directly. You can call me. My telephone number is 503-839-5402. If you like coaching sessions where you have special interests, say you have issues that you're going through, you're about to go through, you need advice, say you have situations you've already been through, and you need counseling from a perspective of somebody who's already been through the same thing, and or has the tools to help you navigate through whatever situations you might be going through. You can reach me by connecting with me that way. From a mentoring standpoint, because I've established myself in various ways by being a coach. Also, I've been self-employed for the last 35 years in terms of being in business. We can talk about those avenues as well. As far as prayer, meditation, spiritual stuff, well, that's a personal choice that people can talk about. However, if they have questions or special interests in that realm as well, I can help to navigate or redirect your focus, and helping you kind of work through things like that as well too. I'm always open, and I'm always welcome. Anybody and everybody. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what you're into. It don't matter what kind of experiences you had. I mean, you could have been incarcerated. You could have been in a position where you know somebody that got cancer. You could be working through things yourself where you don't know what to do and how to do it. I'm a great tool to help you navigate things like that. So I always welcome and honor any person that wants to connect with me, and I can help you, work through these kind of things.
Awesome. Listen, now, I really want to thank you for coming on. I know I kind of creeped you out because I got your information. I just texted you. You didn't know me from Adam, but you're a good sport. You gave me a chance, and hopefully you feel that giving me a chance of coming on was worth your while.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, energy, and efforts to reach out to me. Anytime I can be of great help or assistance. Now, also, you can also reach me. Let me just give my email address while I got you online. It's
Sure.
coachesjustyou.com. coachesjustyou@yahoo.com.
Yeah, and if you want, you can just send me like a list of things, and I'll make it so while this interview is playing, they'll be able to see how to contact you on the screen.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you so much again. I appreciate you. In the meantime, have a prosperous day, and we look forward to hearing from you or talking to you another time.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back on. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you again, buddy.
You will.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
That turned out really well. I'm actually glad I did it. That was Alan, the motivational speaker. I'm sure he'll become a regular pundit on the show. Speaking of the show, I hope you guys enjoyed this demo. Go check out the webinar. Even if you're broke, check it out anyway and share it with people who you know are educated and can possibly afford it. Because then if they use it and they make money, you can guilt them into giving you a percentage. You know what I mean? If you want a sneak peek of Shianne, you can check out her YouTube channel. There will be a link below for the box wine lady. Also, of course, links to the webinar and links to check out Mr. Alan Wilson. By the time this airs, we should also have links to Twitter and Facebook and all that jazz. Just go through the description and click and subscribe and join and share and everything and be a part of the family.